Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we are going to check out the second half of the newest Nanmu release, as we have the other version, the more mainline version of the Lord of Abyss Mosasaurus. Now you can see what we are looking at here box art wise. This, I believe, yes, this would be the standard version. This is like the regular Jurassic World color scheme. And I will say these newer boxes that Nanmu has been giving us are really nice. I love the fact that they switched it up from those black and white boxes to now a colored box. Really just gives the overall appearance a nicer, more higher quality look, in my opinion. Even though I was, a big fan of those older black and white boxes, I think that these newer colored versions with this incredible artwork on the side is definitely way cooler. But again, you can see an amazing image here of the Mosasaurus on the front of the box, and then if I carefully turn this around, on the back of the box, you can now see another image here of the Mosasaurus here, of the actual model itself. And I love that on the base of the mainline version, you actually have the skull of the Indominus. That's like the absolute perfect addition to this. But on top of this, you've also got this version, which is the Leviathan version. This is the alternate color scheme for this Mosasaurus release, and I honestly feel like I might end up being partial to this color scheme. I had actually seen some people online stating some negative things about this, and it blew my mind. I just could not fathom why they would say anything negative about this, because I think the color scheme that Nanmu had chosen for this is amazing. I honestly wish that the Jurassic World production team had actually chosen this color scheme over the one they went with, because I think this color scheme and coloration is absolutely gorgeous from what I've seen so far. But you can see, again, we do have the same artwork, but with the actual correct color scheme on the box for this particular version, which is cool that they've switched it up and they actually give you the correct color scheme for the correct model in the box. And then, of course, the back of the box shows pretty much the same image we had seen on the previous one, except we now have, again, this version of the Mosasaurus, which is the alternate coloration rather than the Jurassic World color scheme that we had seen. So let's get this box out of here. Now what you are looking at here is the box for the base, because this base only actually comes if you purchase the DX version, the deluxe version. So you'll only get the base if you actually, purchase the actual DX version. If you get the regular standard version, you can get the Mosasaurus, of course, a little cheaper, but then you only get the Mosasaurus. You don't get the base included. And the base is where you have the really cool Indominus skull and stuff. Now I do have the DX versions of both of these here, but I'm not really going to bother with bringing the other box in because it looks pretty much the same, just switches and flip-flops the coloration, because of course, again, that's exactly how the boxes work, and it's not really going to be too much different that we really need to take a look at the other box, but I did want to show off the box for the base to you guys. So now I'm really excited to get these out of the box and check the Mosasaurus out. So let's pop them all out of the boxes and do just that. So first of all, you've got the art cards, and you can see, again, depending on the version you get, depends on the coloration you have on your art card. So the alternate version gets the really cool image of that one with that color scheme, and then of course the more mainline Jurassic World version gets that as well. And of course the back is going to be the same. And if you did see my Soul of the Dragon review of the Mosasaurus, you'll know that this card specifically is the same card, but if you purchase the alternate color scheme, again, that's a little bit different just because the coloration is different. So first of all, we've got the base right here for the, Jurassic World color version. And then we've got our actual Mosasaurus itself, and I don't remember exactly how we get this on here. Oh, there we go. So that's actually up really high. That's pretty cool. So there is the Jurassic World style color scheme for the Mosasaurus. Let's reposition the camera a little bit. We've got the base for the alternate color scheme version, and we then have that particular color variant of the Mosasaurus, and we've got to position that correctly. And wow, is that one ever awesome. Let's just move this one over a little bit, bring this one in here, and then bring the camera back just a hair here so we can kind of get a better view. And there we go. We now have both versions of the Mosasaurus here before us. And I must say that I am absolutely blown away by this alternate paint variant version, the Leviathan version. It is actually so much nicer here in person. And I would dare say it actually looks a lot nicer, I think, than even the prototype did. There's actually tones of color on this that I didn't even take notice to in the prototype, like nice variations of browns and stuff on this that weren't, in my opinion, so visible on the original prototype we had seen. This thing is absolutely out of this world, but the Jurassic World version as well looks just as incredible as I expected it to. You know, after having a look already at the Soul of the Dragon version, I've already got a pretty good idea as far as what this one would have looked like, and it again looks just like the Soul of the Dragon version as far as the coloration goes, which if you had, watched that review, you'll know I was very impressed with the paintwork on that version. And yet again, same deal here for this version. So the boxes and everything took up a pretty good chunk of time, so we're going to go ahead and stop rambling and jump straight to a closer look at both of these amazing Mosasaurus right now. So starting up here at the head sculpt of our Mosasaurus, we're going to begin with the Jurassic World coloration version first, because that is obviously the one that is more of like the main release, would be the Jurassic World variant. But you can see one difference between this one straight away and the Soul of the Dragon version is the fact that the mouth is open on this version of the Mosasaurus. And also one difference between this one and the older original release is we no longer have the articulated jaw. Nanmu has done away with the articulated jaws on their models to kind of give us more of that, higher quality model-like look. And I think it looks really nice. Again, the pose is beautiful. It looks, in my opinion, much more like a very high-end collectible now without the, seams and everything for the articulated jaw. So I don't mind the lack of an articulated jaw. I think it adds, honestly, a little bit of a higher quality feel to the models without it. But you can see the inside of the mouth is sculpted really nicely. Lots of fine detail included in there. We've got the tongue sculpted out that you can see very nicely. And we actually have a lot of variation of color for the inside of the mouth. You can see here, we've got all sorts of tones of color here on the inside of the mouth. At least 3 different tones that I'm looking at here, maybe more. And you can see it's all really nice and naturally applied. And of course has a nice gloss coat there to give it that realistic shine. You can see that through the entire inside of the mouth. And the teeth are absolutely incredible, as all teeth on Nanmu models always are. You can see they look super realistic. They always genuinely look like real animals' teeth. They're it doesn't get more realistic, I'll say it that way, than the teeth of a Nanmu model. And you can see on the inside of the mouth, we also have those extra teeth there on the upper side of the inside of the jaw. And wow, look at how beautiful that looks. Like, it doesn't get more realistic looking than the inside of the mouth of a Nanmu model. I am confident when I say that. If we turn it around here and get kind of a view from the other side, it didn't really give us much better of a view because of the stupid shadows. But if we could try to position this in a way, there we go. We'll do it this way from this side. There you can get a really nice look at the inside of the mouth of the Mosasaurus. You can even see like the throat and everything back there. It looks extremely, extremely realistic. But as you move up here into the head sculpt of the Mosasaurus, just like with the Soul of the Dragon version, I can see, again, numerous variations of color applied to this. And we also have that same style eye there with the nice greenish tones. Really nice detailed eye with a nice gloss coat as well. And you can also see, again, the skin texture and scale detail looks phenomenal here as you move down into the lower jaw. You can also see a really smooth transition to that lighter tone of the underside of the Mosasaurus. And then up here on the top, you again have that darker tone, like a very dark blue up here, and also that area there where the nostrils are sculpted out nicely. And we also have a nice dark wash to really amp up the detailing and highlight the detailing. And then as you move along the course of the Mosasaurus, you begin to pick up on those ridges and those kind of scoots and stuff moving along that kind of armored look that we have for the Mosasaurus. And just like with the recent Soul of the Dragon version, you have the same similar style of paintwork where we have those nice variations of browns that are just applied in perfect fashion, where they're not overbearing, they're not too thick or too dark or anything. They just look perfect here moving along the back. And the detailing of those ridges and everything is honestly amazing. Like, when you get nice and close and look at that, I can't even begin to fathom how long it must take Nanmu to actually sculpt out these models. But if you look back up here, we head back toward the neck region. You can see again some nice big bulkiness to the neck, some nice tensing as well. You've also got lots of skin wrinkles and skin detail as you move down, even leading back here toward the flipper. You can see more creasing and skin detail right there. Again, really smooth transition to this nice lighter tone here for the underside that we have for our Mosasaurus. And you can even see again some variation of color down here on the underside. You can also see the throat here moving along, and just mountains of skin detail here as far as like skin wrinkles and creases and stuff. Unbelievable detail here on this model. As you move down into the flipper, just like with, again, the Soul of the Dragon version, as they shouldn't be too far off. They're made by the same company. They are the same creature, the same marine reptile. You can see again that we have that nice lighter tone here moving along the edge of the flipper. Really smooth transition down to that. And again, the sculpt of the flipper is absolutely phenomenal. As we move back up into the stomach region, you can yet again see all kinds of really nice looking skin detail here as you move through, as well as quite a bit of variation of different blues, just like I've come to know from Nanmu. They apply really realistic paint application to their models, and you can see that as you look at this. I don't know how good, again, it's picking up on camera, but here in person, I can absolutely pick up on variations of blues that are included in here. And you can also see, again, that there is a nice lighter tone here for the underside, but there's also like almost looks like a brownish wash or something that's been applied to really amp up how good that detail looks. And just like with the previous release, you can see that we also have that coloration here. It's like a pinkish brown sort of showing up underneath the flippers, something that we saw on the other version, the Soul of the Dragon version of the Mosasaurus as well. And then as you move back here to the rear flipper, you can again see all sorts of detailing here as far as the skin creasing and moving, and then you lead out into the flipper. You can again see that nice smooth transition to that lighter tone on the edge, and you can almost see even like injuries. It looks like there's like scrapes or something, or scratches that have occurred here on the Mosasaurus, so that's pretty cool as well. And then as we move out here into the tail, the ridges begin to pick up in size as you move along, and you can also see we have an exceptionally long tail for our Mosasaurus with a really elegant curve as you move out, and you again have that kind of striping effect moving along the lower part of the tail with some beautiful vibrant blues here up on the upper part of the tail. And again, that really perfect paintwork of those ridges. Like, look at how nicely that's done. That just looks absolutely realistic to the max. But again, the sculpt is incredible. The paint is incredible. As you move through the entire Mosasaurus, even if we run here along the underside, everything is just so perfectly done. I have always been impressed with Nanmu and their paint quality, but I feel like they are just getting better and better with every release. And then if we take a look at the opposing side, you can see again perfection over here as well. The sculpt is amazing, the paint is amazing, just like we had seen on the initial side. And you're not really going to see too much difference over here, I would say, compared to what we had seen on the initial side. We do have a slight tilt and turn to the neck facing away from us. You can see that there. It's also leaning in an upward position, but it's not too far off. It's not too different from what we had seen on the initial side. And the same deal with the flippers. For the most part, they're kind of in the same spot, so as you move through, you're not going to see a whole lot of difference in the detailing aspect on this side compared to what we had seen on the initial side. The only really big difference that we would see here is the positioning of the tail, and even that isn't all that far off, but you can see actually if we come from up above and you lead out, you can see that really nice, very, again, elegant curve to the tail. And considering the way that this sits on its base, that elegant tail is something that really shines on the model. So we've got that one, but you also have the Leviathan version with the alternate color scheme. Now, of course, the sculpt is the same on this, but the coloration is what differs this one from the initial one. And look at how striking that is. And on top of how striking it is, I'm really happy to see just how smooth these stripes are when it comes to the actual application, because that's a pretty intricate paint job for something like this. So it's really cool to see how good the actual striping effect and everything looks here on this, how nice and natural. You can see the eye is painted with a different tone of color, equally I would say as detailed, just different in tone, and you can see we also have that nice gloss coat to the eye. The inside of the mouth as well sports different tones of color compared to what we had seen on the initial one, and again, all kinds of variation of color applied right there on that skin there on the side of the mouth. You can see all kinds of variations of like pinkish and purplish tones. You can see the same deal there for the tongue, almost like some slight hints of brownish tones on the tongue as well. Again, it all has that really nice gloss coat, making it all shine very realistically, and the teeth as well are again phenomenal when it comes to both the sculpt and paint job, like extraordinarily realistic. And as we move up here, you again see that really cool striping effect. And one thing, like I said earlier, that I really didn't pick up on initially on this model was the really nice variations of browns. Like primarily it has some dark tones. I don't even know what tone I would say. It's like a very dark gray tone to the body, but it also has a lot of variations of browns, and I did not pick up on those initially when they had released the promotional images for this. And you can see again that we have that kind of designing through, and it sort of stripes down, and we also have this nice light tone here for the underside of the Mosasaurus, and the striping effect and designing and patterning shows up here on the undersides of the flippers as well, and then of course on the upper side. And then as you continue to move through, it just shines so nicely with this striking color scheme that Nanmu has given this. Like, I can't even imagine a more striking but more naturalistic looking version of a Mosasaurus than what we have here with this Nanmu version. And you can again see here as you move back into the flippers, we still have that patterning and everything here on the underside. And as you lead out into the tail, again, that designing, that patterning continues. And like I said, when you get nice and close and really just kind of analyze the application of the paint, there is just so much as far as the tones of color that are applied to this. It just looks unreal here as you move through. And you can see the patterning kind of decreasing in the amount as you lead out into the tip of the tail. We have a little bit more of that lighter tone, kind of like a light gray or an off-white, which is the alternate tone of color at play here. And you can see that that shines a little more as you move out into the tail as the darker tones kind of decrease a little bit, but we still have a healthy dose of both as you move out. But like I said, I really think that this coloration is my favorite when it comes to this release. It's just so unreasonably striking, so unbelievably cool, and the entire design that they had come up with when it comes to this paint scheme, as well as the actual application of the paint, is probably some of the nicest that I've ever seen from Nanmu. And Nanmu is always really good when it comes to creative yet naturalistic color schemes on their dinosaurs. Like whenever they come up with their own individual coloration that's different from the Jurassic World version that they are creating, I'm always so impressed by how good the actual paint schemes look. Like they are just excellent at coming up with realistic looking paint schemes. But again, it doesn't get flashier or more beautiful, I would say, on a Mosasaurus than this particular paint scheme. Undoubtedly my favorite of these two, and I might say my favorite Mosasaurus potentially in my collection. And then we've also got the base, and the base just has a really cool kind of ocean floor sort of look to it, or I guess maybe lagoon floor, because this technically, if it has the Indominus skull, should be the lagoon where the Mosasaurus lives in Jurassic World. But you can see again the texturing and everything looks great. It has some very nice paintwork to it, all sorts of varying tones of color, as you see, you know, all like orangish tones, brownish tones, yellowish tones, of course purples and blues as you move over there. And then the skull itself is really nicely done, definitely resembles the Indominus, no doubt about that, and even that has some very nice fine detail to it, as well as some nice paintwork. There is definitely some variation of color added to the skull itself, and it looks weathered and everything, looks like it's been there for a while, which is really cool. So I would say this is more of like the Mosasaurus in Fallen Kingdom right before it, you know, gets let out. And then as you continue to move through, again, it all looks extremely nice as far as the sculpt goes, extremely nice as far as the paint goes, really precise, very careful paint work. And then you also, just like with the Soul of the Dragon version, have this, you know, brown base here, more of like an oval-like base on this one, and then on the underside again, Leviathan. So that tells you which base you are looking at for your Mosasaurus. And then we also have the alternate version. Now this is again same sculpt, but of course slightly differing in coloration, as again we've got yellows here rather than purples and blues and then browns and stuff here that are just different tones of browns compared to what we had seen on the initial version. The Indominus skull does look pretty much the same though. I don't really see a whole lot of difference there, but I wouldn't expect to when it comes to that. And then of course, everything continues to look just as impressive, just as amazing on this side as well. But man, that is absolutely amazing. Cannot even begin to tell you how much I love everything about this release. And then once they are returned to their bases, they look absolutely amazing yet again. But as far as a size goes, for a length, I would actually say about 24¼ inches or around 62½ centimeters when it comes to a length on the Mosasaurus itself. And then you're not going to be able to see this because the tail is so much higher. But as far as a height goes, to the tip of the tail, about 17¾ inches, actually a little over, closing in on 18 inches. Actually, I would say more of like just shy of 18 inches, or about the 45½ centimeter range. So definitely very large, just like the Soul of the Dragon version was. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovisaurus, and Robert Muldoon from the Mattel Jurassic World toy line next to our Nanmu Mosasaurus figures. And you can see again, everything here is so small compared to these Mosasaurus. No matter what version you get, if it's the Soul of the Dragon version or the more mainline version, these Mosasaurus are so huge and so impressive. They really are standout models from Nanmu, and also, no matter again which version you get, it is absolutely a centerpiece collectible anywhere it goes. And even though it's a little bit closer than the others are, here is the older Mosasaurus from Nanmu next to the newer one. And you can see again, they are very similar in size. I would say they're probably the same size, but you can see just looking at the two, even though the older one from Nanmu was absolutely gorgeous, you can see such an improvement now on these newer ones. They are definitely much, much nicer when it comes to the overall display of them with the bases and everything, but also again the paintwork, and I would say even the detailing. Nanmu just continues to blow my mind with how good their releases are each and every single time we get a new one. And even though it's kind of eclipsing some of the Mosasaurus here is the Nanmu T-Rex next to the Mosasaurus, just to give you an idea again of how large these Mosasaurus are. And then of course the Mosasaurus' best friend, the Indominus Rex, is standing in here for a comparison next to these Mosasaurus here, and you can see again the skull and everything back there to this unfortunate Indominus, but the Indominus is definitely again a little bit closer, but you can see a pretty good comparison here between both of these models. Then we have all three different versions of the Mosasaurus that were just released, as we've got the Soul of the Dragon version with the regular versions, the more mainline versions, and definitely a sight to behold, that's for sure. They all look extremely, extremely cool. Obviously way too big to fit perfectly behind my backdrop, but definitely an incredible sight, no doubt about that. So these brand new Nanmu Mosasaurus models are both incredible and both individually incredible. Like the Jurassic World one is amazing, especially if you are in the market for a good Jurassic World Mosasaurus. These brand new versions from Nanmu are the best that I've ever seen. The sculpts are pretty much picture perfect. Like I can't pick out anything that looks even remotely off. It looks like an exact clone of the Mosasaurus from Jurassic World, almost as if Nanmu reached into the screen and pulled it out and then just threw it here on my review station. And again, it even looks that alive. It really does look like they pulled it straight out of the film and then just tossed it here for me. So the realism is through the roof. The sculpt as far as the overall appearance is through the roof, as well as the fine detail, because it is as highly detailed as a Mosasaurus can get. Just like the Soul of the Dragon version, there is absolutely no way you could include more detail on this to make it look any more realistic or any more lifelike. It is just perfect as far as the sculpt goes. The paint job as well is incredible. Again, they've done a great job on both of these versions of the Mosasaurus when it comes to the paint apps, but I will say, even though I love the Jurassic World version, I am so partial to this Leviathan version because it's just so striking, so cool. I've seen different marine reptiles in the past painted similarly, not quite the same, but kind of similar as far as like that flashy design. You know, you just look back to like the Walking with Dinosaurs Lioplurodon. So I've always really liked that kind of coloration, and I feel like Nanmu just knocked it out of the park with this. Like the sculpt, of course, of both of these is great, but with this paint job on it, it just amps it up to another level of beauty. It's so flashy, but in my opinion, potentially realistic, and definitely, again, my favorite of all of these Mosasaurus. So I really, really love the, Leviathan version here. And of course, both Mosasaurus include a base. If you get the DX version, the base is fantastic as well, with a perfect callback to both Jurassic World as well as Fallen Kingdom, with the Indominus skull sitting down there on the floor, and that looks really cool. Definitely, again, a great choice as far as what you would want to include next to the Mosasaurus on the base. It doesn't get any more perfect than that. But on top of that, you also, again, have the really nice texturing and everything, nice paintwork as you look through the rest of the base. And again, that underside there, that kind of oval brown base that they have underneath is just the icing on the cake to give it that really nice museum style look. So as a whole, every single one of these new Mosasaurus models from Nanmu are amazing, and I would say every single one is a must-have. At the very least, you gotta get one, but I would say, honestly, all three are must-haves, no doubt about it. So if you are interested, I will include links in the description to Lana Time Shop, where you can purchase yourself these Mosasaurus right now. So make sure you head on over to Lana Time Shop, grab at least one, but maybe grab all of them if you're like me, and get yourself some of these amazing Mosasaurus in your collection today. And also like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.